Okay, so you just had your first child with your partner, who I'm assuming you're still with and intend on pursuing a relationship and a partnership with, and you're asking yourself a question that a lot of new fathers are going to be asking themselves after having their first child, which is, what is the role that I'm going to play in this? What's my purpose in the immediate couple of weeks that follow the birth of my child? Um, this is something that I wondered quite a bit through the 9 months that my girlfriend was pregnant, and it's even something that I've wrestled with a bit in the 2 weeks since my child has been born. And there's a very interesting bit of advice that was given to me a couple of months ago when I was speaking to a random dad at an event that I was doing, and I was speaking to him about having a child and being a new dad and being a first time dad, and he put it very simply. He said, when this woman gives birth, you are going to be a bellboy. Your job, your purpose is to be a servant that ensures that this woman who just gave birth to your child stays alive, feels safe, feels love, is warm, and is dry. All you need to do is make sure that the woman is alive. It can be challenging and it can be very humbling to realize that immediately after childbirth, and even for the first like 3 to 4 months, there's really not much that you can contribute to the child's life directly, because their survival and so much of their existence is tied to the woman. It's tied to how well they are being fed by their mother. It's tied to how much time they're getting to spend with their mother, and so on and so forth. And there's very little involvement within that equation that comes from you as a father. And in that situation, especially if you're someone who wants to be a part of your child's life, it can be, it can feel terrible. It can feel terrible to know that, to some extent, you're kind of useless. Um, that's not the case. You're just not useful in the way that men are typically accustomed to being useful. And that's basically the direction that you're going to need to take. You're going to need to ensure that um, everything else around the child being fed and being tended to is done. You're going to have to clean up messes. You're going to have to cook food. You're going to have to take care of administrative stuff, message certain family members and respond to certain family members and do everything around that requires the person who just gave birth to a child to be in a calm state so they can lactate well, so they can rest, so they can take better care of the child. Um, it can be annoying. It can be annoying to realize that there really isn't much that I can directly contribute to the life of this child immediately after they're being born, especially if you're like I said before, if you're somebody who really wants to be involved in your child's life and you want to be a great father and you want to do everything that you could possibly do to ensure that their life is going well, it can be hard to be like, oh wait, there's really not much I can do. Because if we're being honest, when a child is being is when a child is born, the biggest thing that they need is to just eat food and have a place to sleep, right? The place to sleep is already kind of taken care of. So the biggest thing next to that is going to be that they eat. These are the two most important things, because these are the two things that children do the most in the first couple of weeks and months of their lives. They eat and they sleep and occasionally cry. But even that is something that can be mostly and will mostly be taken care of by the mother. So if you're somebody who in your mind is trying to be directly involved in those things, feeding the child and making sure they're not crying, for most of the time you're going to be twiddling your thumbs, feeling useless, right? So just pick up the slack. Wherever it is that you see that something needs to be done that's not being done, that's where you come in. Until the child starts to interact with the world, starts to learn, starts to explore, in a way that you will be useful as a father and a guiding figure. Before all of that occurs, the best use of your time and efforts as a new father and as a partner to somebody who just gave birth is to pick up the slack literally everywhere else where they are not able to pick up the slack. Um, I feel very, very lucky that I met that guy who sort of explained it to me in terms of being a bellboy, because if I hadn't had that conversation and gotten that good bit of advice, I would have gotten the shock of my life coming back home, because I'm somebody who's been lucky enough to have the experience of being around a lot of newborns and being around a lot of babies. But even in that, there is a certain amount of perspective that you get from being in the experience. And it's only now that I now have a child and have a partner who's recovering from childbirth that I realize how mostly useless I am to the direct well being of the child. Because all of that is just the mother. Because from the two biggest things that the child needs to do, which is eat and sleep, the most important thing, which is eating, is completely taken care of by the mother. So I'm just, a guy who's sort of here. Um, so yeah, it was very, very helpful to be able to meet somebody who's kind of experienced it, and who was able to give me a bit of perspective. Um, and here's the thing, man. A bellboy is an incredibly, incredibly invaluable tool to somebody who's mostly incapacitated, right? Because everything that needs to be done to ensure that somebody is comfortable and they feel all right and they feel safe and they feel warm and they feel loved and so on and so forth is all something that a really good bellboy should be able to take care of. I understand that I'm adding loved in there because I'm just a slight extra step above a bellboy, but I'm sure the point comes across well. So that's basically where you're going to be at, and that's where you should be at. It gets hard, especially if you're somebody who's in a partnership where everything is taken care of by both people most times, or if you're somebody who's in a partnership where you're like a primary breadwinner and you come back home and everything's taken care of. If you're in a more traditional relationship, it's hard to sort of be put in this role where you are second in command and you just need to ensure that pieces are picked up wherever a mess is left. Um, but that's equally as important to the well-being of your child as, the person who's feeding your child and making sure that your child is alive. So yeah, keep your chin up, King. Keep your chin up. Uh, get yourself a nice bellboy outfit, or don't. But yeah, that's basically your life now, and it won't be forever. But the level of impact that's going to have on the quality of the experience that your partner has in the first few weeks of childbirth and just the general well-being of your child is going to be immense. So yeah, own it.